Hello, everyone. For this week, we are going to read two stories. Our first story is A King Who Is Not Desired. A King Who Is Not Desired. Groups of people are very busy working in different places throughout the land of Judah and Benjamin. Some are around a hill. Others carry large stones to this place. What are they making in these high places? Come, boys and girls, we will go to one of these places to see what they are doing. They are building an altar. A few other people come carrying a heavy stone image, panting from the weight of it. With great care, this image is placed upright behind the altar. It is an idol of Baal. Trees are planted around this high place. When all this work is finished, the inhabitants of Judah and Benjamin will offer on the altar to the honor of Baal. They will bend their knees before the stone image. This is terrible. They make several of these high places near Jerusalem and others throughout the entire land. Are you confused? Maybe. You are thinking, that's so strange. Asa and Jehoshaphat had broken down those high places for the worship of idols. Besides, they had broken in pieces and destroyed the images. Are they again being built? Yes, children. It is sad, but they are. How did this happen? Another king now reigned in Jerusalem. Jehoshaphat was dead, and his oldest son succeeded him as king. Joram, who now reigns in Jerusalem, is the son of Jehoshaphat. Joram, the king of Judah, was married to Athaliah, the sister of Joram, the king of Israel, or Ahab's daughter. Jehoshaphat had more sons, but Joram was the oldest. Therefore, he became king in place of his father. The new king of Judah was a wicked king. He was a murderer of his brothers. Do you know what he did? When he was established on the throne, he caused all of his brothers to be killed with the sword. He murdered every one of them. How is that possible? His father Jehoshaphat was a God-fearing king, and he was a man of much wickedness. By this, we can see that even though we have a converted father or a God-fearing mother, it doesn't mean that we will be converted. The older people say, grace is not inherited. Not everyone receives his own new heart from the Lord. This is plainly seen in the life of Joram, the terrible murderer of his brothers. His wicked wife grins. She is well pleased with it. Probably she urges her husband to set up the worship of Baal in Judah. Her mother Jezebel had done the same thing in Israel. Baal is worshipped in Israel and Samaria. Why not worship Baal in Judah and Jerusalem too? The God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob must be forgotten in both kingdoms. Yes, completely forgotten. Joram does everything his wife says. Upon his command, the high places again are rebuilt. The images which were broken to pieces are renewed, and the broken down altars are replaced. For this reason, many people are working busily in many places. The idol worship is again introduced into Judah and Benjamin. Joram tells his people that they must worship Baal. Even worse, he forces them to bend their knee before that horrible idol. What he does is so different from what his father Jehoshaphat did. And his people, do they obey? Yes, many of them do. They dare not disobey their king. However, God's people will not do it. They refuse. But the Lord desires to warn Joram. One day he received a letter written by Elijah, the prophet of Israel. Elijah already had ascended into heaven, but this letter had been written before his ascension. Elijah prophesied in this letter that Joram, the murderer, would be punished severely by the Lord. Here's what it says. Because you have forsaken the Lord and instituted the worship of Baal, the Lord will punish you. Your wives, your children, and your possessions will be carried away by the enemy. And you shall have a terrible, painful disease from which you will die. This is a sad message, isn't it? What does Joram do? Does it scare him? Is he humbled before the Lord? Oh no, he laughs and mocks it. Joram will not listen. It doesn't trouble him at all. When the threatened punishments came, the Edomites who served the children of Israel and brought Joram gifts every year revolted against him. They refused to continue to bring him those gifts. They want to be free. Just wait, Joram thinks. I will punish you. I will force you into obedience. He quickly musters his army and invades the land of Edom. He will destroy their cities and kill the rebels, but he loses the battle and narrowly escapes being killed. The Edomites are free. Rebellion also breaks out among his own people. The city of Libnah lies within his own borders. It is a city of priests. The inhabitants of Libnah will no longer acknowledge Joram as their king because he has forsaken the Lord. Still, heavier punishments follow. The enemies invade his country from all sides. The Philistines come from the southwest. An army of Arabians comes from the south. These two armies march toward the capital and rob and murder as they go along the way, destroying everything in their path. Joram cannot fight against them. They come to Jerusalem and conquer the city. Joram has many wives and children. All his wives except Athaliah, and all his children except his youngest son Ahijah are carried away as captives, and later they are killed by the enemy. Jehoram's gold and silver and all of his possessions also are stolen. What Elijah had prophesied in his letter has taken place. The Lord showed that he still is God. God will punish sinners severely. O Joram, leave your wicked ways. Ask God to forgive your many crimes. Don't you see the Lord is punishing you? But he does not bend his knees. He will not ask the Lord for forgiveness. He is an enemy of the Lord. Do you hear that groan? Where does it come from? This sad sound comes from the royal palace. We will enter the building. Someone lies upon a bed. He is Joram the king. He has so much pain it is terrible. At times it is unbearable. He sometimes crawls in his bed like a worm. Large drops of sweat sparkle on his forehead. What is wrong? The king is sick. He is suffering from a very severe sickness, a sickness of the bowels. He cannot get better. His sickness is incurable. The best doctors cannot help him. He must die of this disease. The painful sickness lasts 2 full years. Then he dies. He reigned only 8 years over Judah and Benjamin. He already cried from the pain while upon the earth. But when he died, he went to eternal damnation. There the pain is more severe. This is the dreadful end of the wicked king of Joram. The people of Jerusalem soon hear their king is dead, but they are not grieved about it. Oh no, they are happy. Good, they think, we're rid of him. They do not mourn for him. We read in the Bible, he departed without being desired, which means they looked forward to the day when he would die. A few men carry away his body to be buried. However, they do not bring his corpse to the graves of the kings. He is not buried in the same place as his God-fearing father Jehoshaphat or his grandfather Asa. No, he doesn't belong there. He is not worthy of that honor.